Brought to you by bowlersmart.com. Trusted by bowlers around the world since 2004. By Lightning Strikes Bowl, home of Bowlers Mart Pro Shop. By Platinum Ford, drive the difference. By Fire Lake Bowling Center, 24 state-of-the-art lanes. By True Grit Coatings, drive on our passion. By Roll to Grip, king of them all. By 900 Global, striking worldwide.
Good morning and welcome back to the Beef and Barnzy show as we yet again struggle with technology. And by we, I mean me. So this time we are coming from Springfield, Missouri and Enterprise Park Lanes, home of Steve Weimer, Roger Weimer, once upon a time, the home house of former great Sean Swanson and the Ozarks tournament for all of those in this region. But last week, we got to bowl one of the historically most challenging events in the world.
One of the biggest pain in the ass. That's
Well,
what you're saying. Trying to bowl on those lanes.
No challenge stone was left unturned, and thus so, except for Stu, the rest of us got to kick rocks. But you had a good week.
Yeah. Some of the things that I'd worked on with Mark and some of the things I worked on up at Storm had really helped, for sure. So, yeah, it was a very good week. If a little disappointing at the end. The match play didn't go quite the way I wanted it to. It was very odd. I had good luck on the fresh, which is not kind of what I was necessarily expecting.
Right.
And then it was for once of a description, a shit show. Once we started moving across the house, as highlighted by Kyle and Frank Snodgrass playing the 5th v 6th match, and it being 150 to 140, and people in the crowd like, oh my god. Thanks, H. Let's go. I will break that down in 1 second. But this is the new super chat feature. You can super chat all you want. There's one just before we start as well, so let's just highlight that at the top a second. Ryan Mine, thanks again for your super chat. I appreciate it. I will be breaking down the top 24. The drop from manweight definitely helped on the last block, when I had to let it fly, let it fly. It felt like I started halfway down the lane. I was basically getting it to the dots. But yeah, none of the players were shocked by that 150 to 140 because we bowled on that lane.
Right.
But it was like the people watching had like not watched that lane at all, and they're like,
oh my god, yeah, they're bowling terrible. They're gagging the show off.
Yeah. How dare they?
No.
Yes, it's just
lots of pairs that went like
and like the thing that was so sick was 31 and 32 was a disgrace, and 33 and 34 was stonewalled. Like me and Dallas were fighting it out for 16th or 18th or whatever it was, and we played that pair, and Dallas, I had 277 going into the 10th, and Dallas could have shut me out, and I'm like, what? Like I had front 7 spare strike and he had strike spare 7 6-bagger.
Yeah. Like
what are we bowling on? It certainly wasn't the US Open. So anyway, let's quickly flick back to H's question. So what was I working on with Mark? Well, the thing that I do a lot is because I look kind of like down, if I start that motion too early, and it was very noticeable that I did it, and I don't really feel it all of the time, but if I start that motion early, it makes my swing later because it's higher. And as I bring it down, as opposed to my hand being like underneath the ball, it's more like the turn is early. So what that ends up meaning is I get a little steep and I like through the front, like the angle I have is front and the rev rate is lower, which almost always really results in the 2 and the 10 pin standing, the little fuckers. And then on occasion, there's extra friends with them. So, but it's basically every time it leaves the 2-pin. Like it's like absurd. Like it's so consistent. It's not like I miss it by enough that I leave the washout. So we're working on trying to stay taller at the start a little longer, and then trying to work on a key, which we never really got dialed in on what I could do, because obviously under pressure, your game always breaks down a little more than it would when you're not under pressure. Like stress causes those issues. It's, you know, it's why you see people miss more times on TV than you do when they're bowling, you know, practice.
Right. Stress testing it.
Yeah,
basically.
pretty much. So that's pretty much what I've been working on, is trying to stay a little more upright in the first two steps at least, and then try to figure on getting my chest to stay a little bit more towards the target for a little longer. So they were the kind of things I was working on. Bear in mind, we were only there for the day, so it was really just dialing in, you know, what was going to give me the most value, you know, going forward. Because it's not like Mark's going to suddenly say, "Hey, we're going to start giving you a follow through. Look at the arrows. Let's all." You're not going to do that in like 2 days.
No, and that's not really how he operates. He's a pretty strong believer, and especially you're already a pro, but most of his guys actually, if you average over 190, your best shot doesn't always have to be much better. It just needs to be way more often. And, you know, and the stuff we're talking about, especially when they're as hard as they were last week, you know, 3% different in spine tilt through the middle of your approach can make a fair amount of difference. And that's my son calling, as if it's brand new that we're doing this show.
Yeah.
I'm working on a few similar things, kind of, and I have tape with Mark for 14 years back. So we go back to when I was in my heyday, and we line up some of the things up against each other and see where I'm at and how close I am and how close I'm not. And so for a few days, it was pretty good. The first day I bowled as well as I've probably bowled in a while. Really not playing shape, just putting it online, and was 80 over. And then, you know, as they got a little bit more friction on the lane, and I had to shape it more, I actually got in a little more trouble chasing all the traffic.
Yeah. So thanks again. Really appreciate the support. Thanks for the super chat. We're definitely, obviously the super chat is something where we're going to lean more into the questions. So thanks again. We really appreciate you. Morning, Chuck. Some bowlers should not scream. I mean, give the guy a break.
Yeah.
I mean Tommy Jones should be on that list as well if you want to talk about somebody, but like
it's pure emotion. And I don't have a problem with that, regardless of whether I get it screechy, but it is as real as it ever gets. There was nothing fake about that moment right there.
Yeah, I know. I'm such a disappointment. 15 pounds. What bowling balls were the stars last week? Well, for me, it was the phase 2, the Night Road. The Eternity got play on the first pattern. The Reality and the Eternity were kind of what I used on the first pattern. Phase 2, I used basically for all 8 games on the second pattern. The third pattern, the first 3 games, I probably used 6 or 8 balls. It was a joke. It was terrible. I used everything from a Sunstorm, which was by far my weakest ball, up to the Reality, which was by far my strongest ball in the first game. I hit the pocket once in the first 9 frames on that one. It was the 4-9. I didn't have a 9. I had 1 9 count the first frame when I went straight through the nose. And then I didn't have an 8 or a 9 count for the rest of the game till the 10th frame. I got a double.
Yeah.
Threw a different ball, got 6.
Yeah, day 1, I had 2 practice balls and 11 shots, and I hit the pocket 1 time on that one. That was a
fun story about that. So the first day, I throw the TNT the first frame, and then I throw something else the second frame, whatever it was. Didn't work. So I end up starting with the TNT, whatever. Wasn't very good. Made the move left, which is what we should have done on that pattern. Not playing to the right. Oh, Barnes has lost. Oh, I know why you've lost it. It's fine. My technology got too clever for Barnes. It went over here. Yeah. So I tried to use the dry that was to the right.
Yeah.
And that was kind of what really screwed the A squad, because we were the guinea pigs on that first squad.
Yeah.
And it just made it a little difficult, because it was a pattern that was Yeah, it was a pattern that was really difficult.
It was new to us. It was flat. I mean, from one standpoint, I liked a lot of all three patterns were relatively flat, and all three patterns were different distances, and so you did get a version of like the fresh, medium, and the burn. Obviously, none of them got as easy as what the burn, and easy is relative, but they were scoreable on B squad typically in the threes, the one run a day, burn, double burn. But yeah, I didn't mind that part. The scoring pace was really hard. It was among one of the harder ones I've ever bowled.
So yeah, just real quick to wrap up. Then on the last pattern, I kind of used a bunch of balls the first 3 games, and I kind of dialed in with what was I using? I think the phase 2, and then ended up rounding out with the night road when I needed to kind of get left and really open the angle up a little more. And then in match play, I drilled another phase 2, which I used on the fresh. And then kind of I used a bunch of different balls, but nothing really stood out as being the right answer. I had a Zen that looked okay, but
I used an absolute on the 49 footer and kind of got it to lock up my 360 grit one. And
when you said that, I thought you were going to say I used the absolute in the regional when I was talking about match play.
Yeah. While you were bowling match play, I was using actually. Yeah, no, I didn't use it on Saturday. But and then I used a phase 2, and it's really the U.S. Open's not. Unfortunate technology is made to take advantage of shape on the lane, and there's not much there. So took the coveted double burn away several years ago, actually about 5 years ago. Do you think this finishes the accomplishment? No. And this year, I did like the fact that the scoring pace was fairly even across all 3. The most unique of the patterns we had seen before was that day 1, and so and so Stu Squad did take the brunt of it because that was the most unique of the patterns, and so they kind of were all over the place, and we got to sit back and watch a little bit and go to school on it just a little bit.
I mean, it was nowhere near as difficult as Lincoln for me, the toughest patterns. But I mean, they definitely weren't easy. I mean, 203, I think it was, made the match play. So
yeah,
I think it was kind of in line with expectations.
Yeah, they were hard. Well, I tell you what, follow YouTube, and shortly you can find out who.
The 245. Yeah, the 245 is around.
Yeah.
Yeah, it tends to be. Hey Brian, see you at the PTQ tomorrow.
I'm a troop fan yelling during Sunday's show.
I'm kind of a little bit like on the fence. I think it's kind of a shitty thing to do, but at the same time,
Stu's an English soccer fan, so he has a much different viewpoint of fans and interactions, and there's definitely more home court advantage to some of the spectator sports.
I think there's a fine line. I think it's shitty yelling as he's about to let go of the ball. I have 100%. Absolutely no problem whatsoever with if the guy splits, the entire place cheers. No problem with that whatsoever. Like, you're cheering for your guy, the other guy didn't do it. You're not really cheering because he split. You're cheering because your guy's taking the lead.
Yeah.
Like, I have no problem with that. Like, I bowled years ago in Vienna. I was bowling against Thomas Gross. I needed a hit to win. I 10-pinned. The place went bananas.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they weren't going bananas because I got 9. They were going bananas because their guy won. And
we forget in bowling sometimes that
I'm just happy that people who went to watch the show actually give a shit who won.
If they care who won, like the Weber Cup, we've had several. Couch left a 9-pin or an 8-pin to lose,
whatever,
to lose, and the place erupted and he went off.
But it's because bowlers are soft.
Well,
like I say, I want to 100% draw the fine line. If you're trying to influence the guy's delivery, like as he's throwing it, that's shitty.
Yeah, once they're on the approach, none of that is okay.
Yeah, But as soon as he lets it go and it goes down the lane and he screwed it up, I have no problem with you guys going crazy and cheering for it. So, it's going to sting if you're the player. But realistically, if you think about it, are you pissed off because the crowd's cheering because you missed, or are you pissed off just because you missed? And realistically, most times you just pissed off because you missed.
Yeah. If Butker misses the field goal against the Bengals, are the Bengals fans cheering? Of course they are.
Yes.
Of course.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. There's a fine line. We're in a small arena, small being the operative word, and obviously things that people do when it's totally quiet, it's going to make a difference. So yes, it's a shitty thing to do when he's bowling, but as soon as he's let go of it, I think it's all game. But that's just me.
Yeah.
Preferred layout system. We use the VLS system just because that's what Storm pushes.
It's a little simpler than dual angle. Devices, and you can eyeball it a lot more than you can. But
I don't really care either way. I'm
also good with old school 5x4, which is
Chris is way into the rat system, right about there.
Yeah, I'm okay.
The rat layout.
Yeah.
So that
I've drilled a couple thousand balls, and knowing that the pins can't necessarily all be exactly where they say they are makes it a little trickier sometimes for me to.
Okay. Nice to see you. Thanks. Last show, you mentioned a shiny reality is the cheat code. Could you explain why and what resurfacing steps to finish that? Looking for a different asymmetrical since the dark code is not working. Okay. Mm-hmm. So this, actually, one of the players in the US Open came up to me during the tournament and said, hey, I was watching the show, which was pretty cool. And he said, hey, I polished my reality and it helped me get through the PTQ. So that was that was nice feedback. So yeah, basically, for us, the reality is just one of those balls that's quick enough that you can shine it, even though it's super strong, and you'll get a reaction that's useful. The gem for me doesn't really work shiny because to me it just makes it weaker, and that's not really what you want out of the gem because it's not quick enough down the lane. So you end up forcing the reaction a little further down the lane, but because it's not a responsive enough, quick, it ends up just being a weaker ball.
Reality is one of the few big balls that actually, as you shine it, it still retains that rounded, continuous shape. It doesn't make it
and it makes
skid or be weak down lane.
No,
or
it actually just makes it a little flippier. I think. It does. Simo uses that a lot. Yeah. Both me and Chris use it a lot. So
I use it more on the senior tour than I do on the regular tour.
That's just why we would use it. I wouldn't think that it would be a great replacement for a dark code. It would be more of a complement to the dark code because it's still going to be earlier than the dark code. It's going to be much smoother than the dark code, even though it's shiny. So the answer to this is, of course, have you been watching? It depends. I think the answer to that is both, and yes.
Most of the time it's going to be on transition because you're using it because the front is broken down.
Yes.
And or you have a little bit of wet dry with it's when the fronts hook more is when you're going to use a shiny reality versus a phase 2 reality gem.
For sure.
Any of those bigger balls.
Did the TNT get any lane time last week? Prather murdered the flat pan with it.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Belmo tried it.
Yeah. So Prather used it a bit. Simo used it a bit. I used it for 2 shots. I really only registered the TNT to play to the right on the long pattern. And I did that for 5 or 6 frames. And then I moved left. And once I moved left, I didn't really have a gap for it.
Right.
So that's what I registered it for.
It's slow and a little bit on the smooth side. And it's control ball. So it makes some sense that it might be okay if you could get through the front lane, but Woodland hooks pretty early. So
what if they change the format to increase the prize fund similar to how the USGA does with the US Open?
I'm assuming you mean qualifiers, like regional and qualifiers, and so you build up.
Yeah, because I was about to say the USGA doesn't change the format. The golf tournaments are always the same format.
The actual tournament itself, I wouldn't be opposed at all for the field to. I mean, aside from going to one squad, which would be the ideal thing, if we're going to do it in this format, then we might as well get to 180 guys, qualify more people through regionally, build up the base of that prize fund a little bit, and probably relieve some of the financial stress from USBC and make it a little bit bigger prize fund wise and a little more accessible.
Yeah. Shout out to Bowl TV. They were great last week.
National PB events and some.
And they were getting players into the booth.
Yeah.
I went in one day. So yeah, I mean, I think AJ Johnson spent a lot of time in there. So yeah, shout out to USBC, Bowl TV, their crew, Flanagan.
Yeah, Flanagan's heading up that effort there.
So good deal. Enjoyed it.
And it's nice to have everything under one tree. A nice example of the entities working together.
How did Ryan finish? Well, he didn't do a vlog about it, so.
No, you can't have your phone either while you're playing.
I'm teasing.
That is fair.
It was a rough week for young Jedi.
Yeah, I mean, like most people see it the first time, and we were talking about it's probably the fifth one of the one that once they went to the flat patterns away from ones that were basically just normal patterns. It was about the fifth one before I kind of came up with a strategy, a pre-tournament routine of practice to get to where I stopped playing ball reaction and started really focusing on. Well, like I bowled next to Simo, and Simo didn't even try a ball for the first 20 games of qualifying. He threw it at the 3-pin.
Just to say, by not trying to bowl, he was like really just playing the pins. He wasn't really trying to play ball reaction.
He was playing fallback at the 1-3 and just put it online. And he's like, well, I'm just better than you. And I can do this and keep up. He thought the scoring pace was low enough.
Yeah, I think that was a good play on the first pattern. I don't think that was a good play on the second.
No, I don't necessarily. But he did have the front 7 doing it in game 1, so he didn't have to get away from it. And then late, he started shape. And then on the flat pattern, ironically, he got it going a little bit, and there was more down lane reaction. And Simon's biggest struggle actually is getting the ball to pick up enough. And so he got 4 games in, and then his ball started to pick up a little bit. And he, ironically, made more shape on the flattest and hardest of the patterns than he did anything else. And so Ryan started off like, I think it was 80 under.
But he started off really good, that block, didn't he? The first 2 or 3 games.
He had a couple of games in the middle where he got crossed up, and it got away from him.
I think that first pattern was really difficult.
And he was with you on that A squad, and so we were all kind of looking around to see what, where, when, how.
Those long, thin patterns are historically really difficult for the two-handers.
Yeah,
because their
balls don't see the front as much.
Well,
which is the only place that you can get in shape.
You just can't lay it on the head pin.
Yeah,
like me and you can just decide we're just going to throw it at basically almost at the middle of the head pin. And it's going to fall back. Yeah. There's hooks.
I played 18, 19. I got it to pick up in the front, and then I got my hand here, and so I got it on the pocket with 10, 12 feet to go, and didn't.
Yeah,
and wouldn't come off it. His ball from that spot, big 4s, and from 2 right of that, buckets.
100%. I think it would have been interesting to see Ryan and Belma both play on the C squad, because they started further in and they burned it up. So they actually had a spot that they could actually hook it off, like me and Simon were doing in the practice day.
Mm-hmm.
We were actually curving it quite a bit on that 52-foot pattern because we can both throw it really slow.
Right.
Belmo isn't against throwing it slow.
No.
And he would have been like, I tried to explain to people how much different it ended up on A squad to C squad. And this isn't like whether it was oiled differently or whatever.
No.
It's just the way it was visually at the end on A and C. And I'm like, Richie Teese can hook it more than Belmo. Like down the lane, his ball's recovering from further right than Belmo's is. And Richie's rev rate is like 325, 330.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then someone goes, well, he does throw it slow. And I was like, yeah, I bet Belmo never thought of that.
Yeah, that's
like
Belmo's got the best touch of all the two-handers, which is, that's not his superpower. It's just one of his superpowers.
We are both coming to Jackson.
Yes.
Do you think there should be squads on new patterns that's difficult, or should everyone bowl on at the same time? I see that we actually spoke about this. There is a way that you could do it, which doesn't necessarily work any better, but maybe it does. Is that like the A squad is always pattern 1, the B squad is always pattern 2, and the C squad is always pattern 3. So the first day, everybody would go in blind.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whatever. That's it maybe just changes the issue slightly, but I mean the best scenario to all of it is finding a scenario where we can all play at the same time. But
yeah, I mean, Woodland's a giant place. And
whether that's logistically possible with
the TV
shows at one end, because Woodland is a giant place until you have the paddock take up 10 lanes, the TV show take up 10 lanes. Then it's not
the paddock take up 12 lanes.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's like,
we use up 30 of the 40 lanes for things that don't, or 70 lanes.
Yeah.
So we were back up.
I was just moving. We changed ball speed.
Yeah, when they're hard and you can't really move around left and right, you can't necessarily change. That was way more about a ball speed thing than a rotation change. Then it does move around when the lanes are easy. Sometimes taking the same one that rolls good and moving with it, with your hand, or if they're really easy, you can just keep changing balls until the next one hooks the right amount.
What is your guys' thoughts on why the Masters is open to any bowler and the US Open is closed event, but it's called the US Open? See, I'm sick and tired of this whole bullshit with the US Open. The US Open is open.
Come bowl the PTQ. There was 20 spots.
Do you guys do any different preparation for the US Open? Yeah, I mean, because you've got to figure out the ball limit, but like after that, no, not really for me. Like when I'm practicing, I'm not trying to do something massively different to what I'm doing at, say, the World Series where we play a multi-pattern event.
Yeah.
But like the ball limit. Hello, how are we doing? So yeah, the ball limit definitely changes a few things. Because you kind of have to make choices based on a practice session and based on the fact of what you know. Like in hindsight, I was going to register the pitch black and I registered the Sunstorm. The Sunstorm turned out to be useless because I probably should have put more service on it. But I don't necessarily think that the pitch black would have been the answer for me.
Yeah.
So
there's not magic when they're that hard. It just kind of is what it is. You have to make good shots. You have to put it online. No. Although Justin actually, ironically, he bowled the best of. He bowled really good day 2. Shot like 100 over. He was 140 under day 1, so he was buried from the get go. And then Parker, the last day on the left, they got to play the gutter. And Parker was 120 or 40 over for the first 4.
With all due respect, like to me, I wouldn't necessarily have expected any of the sons to beat the fathers. Like, just given what we were bowling on. Like, if we were to bowl on something that was a little softer, that they had more experience on over time, not more experience than their fathers, but just more experience of bowling on, then yeah. But that's like the one tournament where, I mean, it's
the first pattern is completely negated.
Yeah.
49 feet negates all the rev rate.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm going to bowl the doubles with Ryan. I would say at best it's 50-50.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. It's like
it'll be a much more playable pattern.
I mean,
and we'll be able to work together so we can talk through some of the things where he might not see it and have a set of eyes. So was there a shot clock? Not in qualifying.
No, I think he's talking about the TV show was pretty slow.
Oh, there was one. I don't know. I didn't get to while I was busy bowling a Codger region.
What ball change would you have made? Like, I mean, I probably would have left the pitch black in instead of the Sunstorm, but based on the data I had and how little I care for the pitch black, I wasn't like, oh my God, what were you thinking?
Watching the finals, though, it wasn't like it was 15 guys throwing a pitch black down there and making it look good. So,
no, I don't think I didn't really miss it for the last pattern. Like,
I don't think it was that much.
It was just on the flat pattern at the start, because I bowled 5-12.
Right.
So it would have been pretty easy to be a little better than
you
that.
Probably could have got 50 more easily. And then
I probably wouldn't have registered the TNT again, but from the balls I had, if I'd have had to play to the right, that was the best ball because it was so much earlier and so much smoother to keep on line.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean,
the 49-footer did influence ball selection way more than previous because we'd seen versions of the other two patterns, but the 49-footer, we didn't quite know what it was going to be and what it was going to turn into because we didn't have any historical data.
I don't really mind the PTQ. The PTQ also on site adds to the prize fund. I'm not against regional qualifiers either.
Yeah, I think honestly, I think there should be both, and the field should probably be closer to 140, maybe. But
interesting question here. It says, how much does the guy's ball on your pair affect you, and does their struggle affect you? Them struggling doesn't really impact you very much, in my opinion. For me, I had an interesting cross because I bowled with two lefties. So I had less breakdown when I was left during a game. I didn't have to move as much, so that was good. Where the one time that it really hurt me was when we were bowling on the flat one, and my mind was going a million, and I didn't really have an idea of whether the pair I was on was kind of shitty, right, or whether I was just making horrific shots.
Yeah.
Now, I would say 89.7% of the problems was me throwing horrific shots. And that like 10% left was probably that the pair was just a bit weird. But not having that like confirmation data of a guy, playing.
There was some irony in the fact that for a while, I think it was Tackett, Teese, there was a group that was all in the top 10, and like four of them were bowling within a pair of each other. And so you do get a picture of, hey, that's the right thing. Yeah. And it's a confirmation, and you get to see the right shape. I bowled with Jesper. I bowled with Mikey Tang. Obviously, Jesper bowled fantastic, by the way.
Yeah.
Impressed me more than he ever has.
From one of the biggest Jesper haters there is.
No, I'm not a Jesper hater because I've been on his team. But I've seen him bowling, and he can strike.
Sorry, Jesper deniers.
Deny it, maybe. My man can strike a lot. But I watched him on that second pattern, and it was hard, and he played the gutter for a while, or, not the gutter because the gutter was out of play, but, up 8, and it was good on some lanes, terrible on some lanes, played 20 with reactive, uses speed, used touch. It was the best overall bowling, not just striking, that I've seen.
Hey, Robert. Yeah, every squad was fresh because we bowl on a different pattern every day, so you couldn't possibly have a situation where one pattern was fresh for one guy, but it wasn't fresh for another guy, and then, So, yes, all the patterns were fresh.
Yeah.
Did you think the TNT would be better for short patterns? Maybe. We'll see this week. We're bowling on Wolf.
Yeah, 34 feet this week.
I actually, when I'm going to use reactive on this, I actually prefer using asymmetrical balls on these short patterns because I find it easier to make them tumble. Yeah, it was it was great to see EJ win. Much deserved, having led by 500 the year before, and then to come back. It was kind of similar-ish in the way that Simo ended up winning previously. Like, he'd led by a lot and lost, and then the next year he come back and won. Mm-hmm. Now, he didn't lead the second year, but he led by miles in Nebraska.
Right.
Lost to Belmo and then came back and won. So it was kind of cool. If Jacob wasn't left-handed, I might wish for him to have a similar scenario. I'm led by 1,000 pins, but I love Jacob though. I do love me some Jacob. You can't ever get upset with Jacob.
Jacob's one of the nicest guys on tour.
I'm going to plead the fifth because I don't know. Oh, that was a Zen Soul, I believe.
Yeah, just when I think the oil made the blue part dark.
Yeah, it was just a weird pour. All right. Thoughts on the two shows, and could the change my going into the last couple of games of match play? No, not really. I mean, I got up to 9th in the second block. It was a little strange, I must admit. Like, it being 9 making the TV show, but I think most people's target was 4th anyway. I don't think people were like targeted 9th.
Yeah, if you're in the 5-6 range, we're going to go, okay, well, I'm on the show.
Yeah.
It was a big deal to make it to the second show and skip that first one, I would think. So,
yeah, I mean,
I don't know if you're watching. I actually gave him a compliment.
I mean, no, he's talking about me and Jacob.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm fairly consistent. Barnzy 2.8. Did you ever scream so hard after winning that your voice cracked?
No. But to be fair, I was 28 when I went on tour, so I'd already hit puberty.
Yes. But I'm kind of excited by the ruby. It's pretty. It's
pretty.
I actually saw it when I was at the plant. The ball is very, very pretty. It's a little darker than the pictures that I've seen in real life, out in the real world, as my friend Jared likes to say. But yes, those balls actually arrived at my house.
I'll be home after this tournament for a few days, so I may get to draw a couple.
Look at your mate here. What a dickhead. Bet the guy in 10th was trying for 9th in the position round.
Well, there's that.
There's always one, isn't there?
Yeah. He is good at math, so I'll give him that. So, yeah, it did change that part for sure. We had a little issue with the regional.
To be honest, the guy in 9th was probably trying to get to 5th with the way the guys in 5th and 6th were bowling.
Yeah, he started looking around and all they had was phone numbers up there. It was 81723.
What ball did you see commonly used? I saw a lot of phase 2s, which doesn't really surprise me.
Yeah, good symmetrical balls. I had absolute. I had a phase 2. Those were my best.
Yeah, I think the Eternity got some play.
It did.
TNT went down the lane, but it doesn't surprise me because all the new balls always go down the lane. And also, the TNT, like it or hate it, the color is very obvious which ball it is.
Yeah, you're not confused which one it was. Looks like an uproar.
I saw quite a few of the one. The one remake go down the lane from on the Brunswick side. Obviously, you saw the usual suspects in the urethanes. I'm really struggling to think. I think the thing was you didn't really necessarily pay too much attention to what balls the guys was throwing because it didn't really matter.
Yeah,
so
guys weren't playing shape. I couldn't tell. Simon was right next to me. I couldn't tell you exactly what ball he was throwing half the time because he was just humming it.
Well, I mean, Simon was comical on the show. He ends up using an alpha crux and an idol.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. So
I didn't get to watch because I was bowling the regional, but yeah, Nico, that's true. There's going to be a lot of guys on that show.
My man Barnes here. Hey, I can someone ask me a question about this regional?
No.
I keep dropping it in the conversation, but nobody's asking.
No, I was just busy doing that. And Pete's super fan, Kenny. How are you, Kenny? Why didn't Pete bowl this? Because he didn't qualify. He had to be in the top 75 in points. He didn't bowl on the regular tour last year. Last 10 years, champion the last 10 years of the US Open. There's certainly a case to be made that Pete should as many times as he's won it, that he should have been an invite at some case. But
real quick question for the guys watching: how is the picture? I'm fascinated by our. We have a different camera setup, and I'm wondering if it came out good or not. So.
Do you have an opinion on the new polish on the shiny stuff compared to the old? I think it's improving.
I think that there's a lot of bullshit going on with in the past, and that's influenced them, like trying to make sure that we're in the right space spec wise. So yes, I obviously I think most people preferred the old style, but you know we move with the times.
Yep. Where'd that question go?
What was the question?
How quickly do the heads burn up these days?
Oh yeah, we can just answer that.
Yeah, that's just
so the to me, I didn't feel like they went away that quickly on the middle pattern. I felt like on the first pattern it changed rapid because it was longer.
He's just talking in general. So, but we talk about this all the time, and you were the first to kind of 2-3 years ago, you're like, all the surfaces hook early now. You're
Yeah.
like, no, they're synthetic. And you go, oh, wait, they're all 15 years old now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, we're really getting back in the same era as kind of the 90s where everything was wood and you had a lot of old wood around still. And yeah, I mean, if Mookie gets an exemption, Pete should. The thing is, that exemption is about what they think will draw eyeballs. And that's also strike 10 / BPA / USBCs. And Pete hasn't done himself any favors with that group in recent times. So he's probably not going to get himself a.
As a competitor,
Yeah.
I have unlimited respect for Pete's achievements.
100%.
But I can't remember the last time Pete finished an event that I bowled. And that's a little bit of a problem. Like, so I love you, Pete, but at the same time, your body isn't really holding up to bowling 24 games in the last few times that I've been there.
Yeah.
So it's just, and it sucks when you're bowling 3 in a pair and you have to bowl half the tournament with 2 when everybody else is 3.
Right.
So I understand that that's not the trendy thing to say. Like, and it's much better to burn the pitchforks and scream at USBC. But I also know they had a similar issue at the Masters with a guy who played forever. And, it took him forever to play the round. And I'm not saying that Pete's in that position. I'm just saying that, like, that's happened a couple of times. And it's just a little bit hard to deal with in the tournament.
Yeah. I mean, Walter didn't get to bowl either. He's got the most titles of all time.
So we're liking it.
Huh?
Very clear, fantastic. It's fine. You look filtered. Well, we are. We've got the blurred background on, mainly because we're in a hotel room. It's clear as F, so that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're just using the iPhone camera as opposed to the web camera. So
turns out it's quite a bit better.
Yeah, it looks way better on our end. So
Yeah.
I was just wondering, because sometimes with how much you end up.
Yeah. Heard the Eternity the same shape as the Zen. I don't know about I mean, it's asymmetrical, but it does have a
similar color.
Yeah.
I think that affects people's eyes as well.
I think it's a little bit stronger than a Zen. I think it's a little earlier, probably a little smoother in general, but that's where it fits for me is a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a
bit
similar-ish cover
Yeah.
From just eyeballing it, like with how it rolls and stuff. I do think though that it seems like it might be one that you can that continues a little bit better than the Zen does now.
Seen better. Yeah, I think we both like the shape a lot, and we're looking forward to when we get on some patterns where we can really put it through its paces.
Yeah.
And it's probably not going to be these first 2 weeks. So there's a chance it'll go down in Shawnee. The bear pattern is, while it's still flat, it has a little bit of shape. And that's generally a fairly slick surface compared to most. So that's probably a good if he asked, I'm sure he would have got an invite. Hard to say, but maybe. Yeah, hard to tell with 2 subjects on the screen. Fair.
Ron, yeah, we've actually done it that way on purpose.
I couldn't believe how much friction is in the front lane. Yeah, I understand. Well, Woodland's always kind of had a lot of friction in the front anyway. I mean, obviously back when we bowl on wood, and then it kind of took on the same characteristics when they put on the Pro-Am lane. So
just this one's pretty good.
Here.
A friend of mine is hellbent on figuring out what Troop said when he threw the big 4 in the 10th. Was his girlfriend talking during his approach? I don't know.
Huh.
I'll ask him if you want.
Okay. Thanks, Richard.
Appreciate you, Dickie.
I don't know if I was really looking for you to be the one to say it, but hey, thanks. Let's see.
Did they? Yeah.
Definitely came out good. I liked how it looked. Also made the TNT look the best I've seen on YouTube.
Thanks, man.
The 49-foot flat, mostly softer speed.
I think the key to the 49-foot flat was ignoring the 4 boards of try to the right.
Yeah, there was so much of it.
And shout out to the ball reps because they called that in the practice session. Like at the high end, we were using it to some success, and they were like, "That ain't the deal, dude. Yeah, it just isn't the deal." And I was like, "Oh, I don't know." And then 5 frames in, I was like, "God damn it, they're right." So the 6th frame, I was like 85 in the 6th or whatever it was, and I moved left, got a 4-bagger or whatever, and got the first one in the 10th, and then spared for 190. And to be honest, that game could have easily got away from me into a 150 or a 160 if it had stayed to the right. So shout out to them. That was definitely they definitely came in clutch there for me.
Yeah.
The other thing that I quickly spinning back onto the Baker thing, I really like the like kind of like sending your forearm to the target deal. I think that really helped me the first day.
Yeah, you were talking, so you dialed it in, and you were putting a lot of shots online.
Yeah, and I mean it was funny. I was struggling a little bit, and then suddenly I just focused on that, and I had I think 10 strikes and like 12 shots or something. It was like, okay, guess that Baker guy knows some about what he's talking about.
Turns out it's better than. What is the hardest? That 40-foot flat thing that we bowl on is pretty much
the hardest pattern we've ever bowled on is Lincoln, and it's not even close.
38-foot flat or whatever it was.
I mean, that pattern was a joke. That was like, if I'd have done what I did at the Snowman there, I would have smoked the field outside of like Bill and Norm, where I just stood to the left and threw my plastic ball at the head pin for 8 games.
Right.
That would have been the best scenario on that.
How can an amateur identify when the fronts are hooking if they have a tough time picking up the ball? The multiple colors will help you kind of tell where your rotation is. And if it's started to migrate, it's lost some energy in the front. The system that I talk about when I'm setting up an arsenal and starting with stronger balls, the flat 10 will be your tell because you're already throwing a stronger ball that maybe it's, you throw one ball down from that one that you think's longer. And if it hooks more, there's more hook in the front.
Yeah, I think that's the deal for me. Like with that is like, if you can't decide if it's burning up or it's not hooking enough, it's almost certainly burning up in today's game. But if you throw the ball that's weaker, always throw the ball that's weaker before the ball that's stronger.
Yeah. The ball that's weaker hooks more. You have hook in the front. If it goes straighter, then your ball isn't hooking enough.
Yeah.
How's the technology from the balls you started with back in the day to today's?
A bit like airplanes, like bigger and better now. Like just
yeah.
The insides are like gigantic. So
yeah. To your point, are there certain lane starts that tend to hook more? Well, yeah. I mean, SPL hooks more when it's brand new than anything that's been out since Guardian. So it has more friction in it, makes the approaches fantastic, but it makes the lanes hook a lot.
Glad someone was paying attention. Pete didn't finish this weekend.
Too many 150 games happened.
What's up? Not much. We're all good.
Yeah, and that is the thing. I mean, I think he bowls hurt pretty much all the time now.
Glad I offended you, Alan. Pete has got a lot of injuries. I mean, when you've bowled on tour for your entire, like almost
from 16 years old
of your life, it's going to happen. Camera view is very good. Appreciate you. How do you two feel about the ball limitations set at the US Open? I don't like it, but I understand the reason for it. I think part of the reason for it is that you're trying to. I think part of the reason for all of the rules at the US Open is because they were talking about taking it to smaller bowling centers, but they're not using smaller bowling centers the last 3 or 4 times they've done it. Right. So,
like anytime you do a ball limitation thing, though, it's a much bigger strain on one side of the lane than the other.
I prefer the ball limitation thing than the practice range. If we're only getting rid of one thing, the practice range is the thing I want to go.
Yeah. I'd much rather the practice range is one of the greatest ideas that has been misused, in my opinion, so far. It's a very cool idea. It's one of the best ideas I've heard come up. But not basically telling Tiger that hey, here's the range, but you can only use it 20 minutes before your tee time, and you have to share it with 9 other people. And then when you're done, you have to go over to Top Golf if you want to hit any more balls. Seems a little bit silly to me.
Yeah, no, by the way, we don't really want you to take your clubs out of the ball.
Yeah, there's also that. But
do most pros use interchangeable thumbs? Yes.
Yeah.
There are very few guys using molds now. Frankie is one of the guys. I think Jason Sterner might, although I feel like he might have changed.
Even fewer drill into slugs, but either molds or that. The guys with a lot of pitch sometimes don't use interchangeables. That's
yeah.
it.
Barry had the yips for a little while.
100%. Still does to a point. You just found a way around it.
That's the ultimate. It depends. I've got a mouse.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate. It depends question. I would say that asymmetrical balls, because they are more dynamic, are probably more prone to leaving splits. But I mean, I'm pretty versatile. I can 210 with almost anything. Enough with the Open. How did the senior regional go? There you go. Somebody dug in for you, Jason.
My man. I almost missed the cut.
The Chris Barnes retirement fund is still going strong.
I went up to Gary Allstott's a senior member, has a center over in Crawfordsville. It's about 45 minutes away. Does a nice job there. Bowled in the 40-foot Monticelli. It was 5-1. I was looking forward to being able to stand on the left, throw it a little right, have it come back, miss a little in, have it hold, and somehow the middle of the lane played flat. And so I was in game 2 when I slid about 22 looking for some hold and went Brooklyn again, and not again, but went Brooklyn, and I went, oh. And so I went outside and got a pitch black and a Zen U and a burner pearl, and I moved back over to the right side of the lane where there was plenty of friction. And I still had to throw the last 6 to sneak in the cut by 20, but and then the last day I became a one-trick pony. I was urethane only guy. Yeah,
and we've got the step ladder matches. I've uploaded his match against Knowlton.
Yep, me and Don Knowlton bowling the first one. It's pitch black versus Old Dusty, as he calls them, the 89 purple hammer. So you want to see what new urethane versus old urethane looks like? There'll be that. And I bowled Lyle Kuhlman. And then I bowled the legend, Parker Bone. So
Knowlton says that you should always, I'm reading it from here, should always give an exception for the spare ball, and that ball should not be allowed to use for first shots. Good luck trying to figure that one out. Keeping track of that one is interesting. I.e., the guy who uses a urethane ball for his spares.
Like one's a strike ball, one's a spare ball.
So pain in the ass. Nice idea in theory.
Yeah.
Can we get a Beef and Barnzy shirt with "It Depends" on it? I feel like we should. What's the plan for Wolf this weekend? Stand on 20, throw it at 1, watch the messengers fly. Bold strategy, Cotton?
Yeah, probably closer to 15 for me. So,
but still throw it one and watch the messengers fly.
Yeah, I'm hoping for a messenger or 2 in this place. They do move around a little bit here.
Yeah, I told Chris last night, Chris's favorite thing I do to him, man, it looks like the pins are flying around here. Chris is in.
This means I'm going to
flat 10 heaven
48 times this week when he starts saying that nonsense. So, completely screwed when he does that.
Oh man, oh god! I tell you what, it adds. It adds a go fuck yourself. Oh shit. Yeah, maybe we'll figure something out. Thanks, Alan. I appreciate you laughing at that one. I'm glad you guys all took that in the right manner. Laughing faces everywhere. And I left a bunch of 710s. I didn't make any of them, but I did see a few. Who was it who made the 710 and the big 4? Andrew Hall. He made the 710 and the big 4.
Yeah, in the same round.
What's your pace of play at the US Open? The players were an absolute disgrace. That's my thoughts on the pace of play.
For the TV show?
No.
Just period.
4 hours and 11 minutes
Oh,
or
yeah.
12 minutes to bowl 8 games
With
with 3
3.
on a pair. Jesus Christ. It's your turn. The odds are it's your turn.
There's too many college guys bowling in the tournament.
It's not just that.
It's not just them. But
like it's just painful. Like the faster and like everybody's going, well, you're not striking much. I'm like, Jesus Christ, these guys are versatile enough that we could bowl on the house shot and it'd still take 4 hours. It's bad. It's bad. Like the first day, I honestly wasn't sure he was going to get the lanes oiled for the next squad to start on time, and it's 5 hours.
Yeah,
in between squads. It's absurd. Yeah. But that's Norm's retired, and I think that Norm's retirement is a strong retirement. I don't think it's a maybe. I'm pretty sure he ain't even bowling the TOC.
Yeah, that would be the last time that I think that he might come bowl. But when we bowled the PBA 50 major, and it's literally 25 minutes from his house, and it's free money. He's not missing. And he didn't show up for that. I went, he's not part-timing it. He's not picking and choosing. He's out. So,
Alan says, sounds like bowling with Kevin Green on Monday Night League.
Yeah, that's close.
Yeah, so the Bowl TV thing worked out great. Like I say, shout out to them. The Bowl TV thing with everything in one place is, it's good. Very good.
Yeah, they want to see a YouTube doubles event.
Yeah.
Up there. So there's only one team that has a decided advantage. But,
they don't want this smoke.
Yeah. It's cute that they have houses that all of them have to live together in.
I mean, well, or their mom's house.
Well, there's that.
But at the same time, I mean, they are smoking us on subscribers. So,
yeah.
And that kind of is the space. Packy's channel almost at 100,000. Will you guys please head over there and get him to 100,000 so he'll stop begging like a bitch to get to 100,000?
Like, subscribe. He has some very unique content. I enjoy his channel too.
Yeah, me too. But I'm just going with him. Please hit the like button, please.
Jabberwocky, trying to get yourself kicked off. Yeah.
Fly, Eagles, fly. Shit. Yeah, I'm sure we can figure something out.
It might not be here where Kevin thinks he's he's
Kevin,
Earl Anthony in this place. So.
My man said that he's going to bowl league this fall and he's going to take Carter down. I said,
taking from 261.
From one guy who's good at league to one guy who's saying he's good at league. No, you're not. I understand he's on the left side, which makes it significantly easier. Don't at me. Don't care. It is. But at the same time, the night it rains and your ball doesn't peel off two like it normally does.
It takes one of those nights.
Yeah.
When you have to average 270.
Carter had the one night he had 640.
Yeah.
But if he does beat it, it's still fraudulent because Carter bowled in a league where 1 week was fresh, the next week was burnt.
He bowled early and late.
It's the most ridiculous thing in bowling.
Crazy how good that.
The only achievement that's more ridiculous is all of the people in the 100,000 pin club. 100,000 pins at nationals is just like, that's the thing to me that's not spoke about enough. That's just 2,000 a year for 50 years. Like, are you insane? I can't even get 2,000 a year for 5 years.
I bowled doubles with Mookie 3 or 4 years in a row over the Christmas tournament. Mookie bowls.
I bowled next to him, the US Open the whole time. Nathan bowled next with him, and said that he was a delight to bowl with.
Yeah, he's super easy to bowl with, and he's always thrown it good, but he's putting time in the off season to learn how to bowl better. Yeah, it's not just he's learning how to bowl.
He just died a death on the second pattern. He couldn't figure out what to do on the second pattern.
Yeah.
And on odd,
he's certainly not the only one.
I'm just saying, but he bowled really well on the first and the third patterns. certainly relative to his place where he finished. It was just the second pattern. He couldn't because he is very, very end over end roll.
Yeah.
And you kind of, in our squad, you kind of needed to open up a little more, and he just couldn't really do that. And like, he lost a bunch of pins on that one. Yeah, I'm sure at some point, hopefully you won't see it because we'll just be bowling the whole time.
That's how this show got started.
Yeah.
We started missing cuts together, and we got up in the booth with Phil.
Any pros turning 50 this year? I know they're going to run it over the PBA 50 like Barnes.
JJ is 50 this year, but he's going to keep his day job at Kegel, so he won't bowl that much. He'll bowl some. Seems like Devaney showed up last weekend, and I didn't know he was 50. So
there you are, Dick Arms with you.
My man.
Ruiz. Ildamaro's less than me. Hey, can I play the PBA 50? Somebody mistook me for Mike Olby this week.
Well, yeah, you can probably bowl the PBA 60 then.
Isn't Richie Allen 50? Stu, TJ in the booth commentating on numbers, but yeah, that is the most iconic of all time.
That one was
yikes. That's the GOAT call of all time.
Yeah. Himmler. I haven't seen him bowl in a while. I'm not sure how healthy he is, but he's healthy 100%.
I think it went 3-1-2. What are we trying to do?
I'm trying to just come on.
Yes. If I was gonna be doing this,
I hate your thing.
It's because my iPad is an extra screen. So when you went off the side. So how would you rank the toughness? I think it was 3-1-2.
Yeah.
But
well, I mean, for me, the last one was plenty hard. It was a little harder, but yeah. Rank
the toughness. ABC. A squad being the toughest, C squad being the easiest. Frankie,
I didn't see it that way. But
Frankie texted me because Frankie made the round robin, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, oh man, 17 people on your squad cashed. And Frankie said, so you're telling me that me finishing, making the round robin isn't that impressive? And I go, yeah, that's exactly what I'm telling you. And then he started laughing. I said, 12th in our squad like you were didn't cash.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was rough.
Hendricks wants me to admit that the rest missed a few crucial calls. Yeah, I felt like the Patriots did not mind it at all. It was nice to see the shoe on the other foot for one time. Don't mind at all.
My man Robert Eddy coming in. Where's my picture? YFC. Yes. The reason you haven't got it yet is because we are C's, and we will get it done tonight because we're bowling the PTQ. The problem was the one time that me and Barnes were next to each other, I had lightning strikes on the back, which wasn't going to help you a great deal.
No.
So yes, we will endeavor to get it done. Yes. I promise. So you will not have to use that acronym again.
Mark, I can admit they made some crucial calls, but that is not why. That's just they got there a little sooner than they would have.
Woo, 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 woo. The alarm goes off from Australia. Beef and Barnzy. After watching the PBA Tour for a couple of years, I'm considering taking up bowling as a hobby and would like to improve. Any beginner's advice for newbies? Well, awesome that the PBA Tour is trying to get you to start bowling. That's awesome. The first thing that I would suggest is to go down to the local pro shop and get yourself a pair of shoes. That's the best thing, because having your own shoes and having something that's comfortable and being able to sort your approach out is the most important thing. After that, I really feel like getting fit for a bowl is the next on the list, after you've bowled for a little while. And then what do you think's next after that, Chris?
Yeah, after that, then it's, watch some videos on, basic technique, get your footwork, and just some of kind of how the biomechanics work a little bit. And at that point, if you got a coach close by, obviously you're nearby Orange, there's a guy that's pretty good from around there. But if not, Mark Baker Bowling, and you can do some video lessons and get some things to work on, and that will help you progress way faster than trying to learn everything on your own.
Yeah, I really think that like the 4-step approach is a pretty good place to start. And really just getting out there. I mean, most people get better just by the more they get out there, the more games they get under their belt, and like having the time to really like, try and figure things out yourself. I mean, if you watch people bowl these days, not everybody's David Ozio, like perfect technique and everything like that. Like two-handed bowling has taken off, and that to me, that would be something I would recommend you trying.
Depending on your age and flexibility. Yeah. I two-handed bowling's, well, it's more fun. Your ball hooks. Yes. It hooks a lot, and
it's definitely the easiest way to get better quick.
Yeah. I would not shy away from that. So,
but thanks
for the question.
Thanks for the super chat. Appreciate you. If we're getting a little further down, yes, your PAP is a necessity. Just drilling balls willy-nilly is not that good. Alan says, or you could become left-handed. I mean, see, it's not just the show who's haters. It's the fans of the show also. So, hi, Linda Barnes. Dan goes down the same route, or just put your second hand on the ball or bowl left-handed. So there's a lot of haters out there.
Yeah.
The miss calls both gays, but we don't care about the crowd noise. But don't cry about the crowd noise being an issue. Yeah, I mean, the script said the Chiefs were going to win. It's just the way it is. All right.
Yeah, it's about time.
With that, we better check out. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Big thanks to all the guys with the super chats. It was a lot of fun. We will endeavor to try and get another show up this next week, because we will definitely be bowling at this point.
Yes.
So Thursday.
Next Tuesday will be our next show. We should be able to get one up and running from Shawnee during the PTQ
with our man Skillins.
It probably will not be at Shawnee because the Wi-Fi there
is less than ideal.
Yeah, it's not.
It might be in the parking lot. My phone works in the parking lot, but not in the bowling center. It's awesome.
So. All right. So till next Tuesday, we will update what happened this weekend and anything else that we find around the world. And of course, we'll answer anything you have for us. But until then, if you would, please support the sponsors that support us. Storm, Rotogrip, Niner Global, Coolwick, Bowler Smart, Fire Lake Bowling Center, Lightning Strikes, and Platinum Ford. Till next time, stay safe, stay healthy. God bless.
See you later. Thanks for watching.